Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Adrienne Ross Show, the basketball edition. I posted a video last night. Jensen did an interview with Maylander Podcast, and it's so meaty, as I said last night, that I was going to break some pieces apart and give you a little bit here and a little bit there, because again, there's so much in the video. So I'm going to give you another nugget right now. Now, what I shared last night, if you haven't seen it yet, you want to make sure you see it. She pointed out how Caitlyn is wired to play in Madison Square Garden. And she mentioned Spike Lee, and she might have mentioned some beers. You know, you just got to go watch that, the video that I put out. But I want to share, like I said, another nugget with you tonight where Jensen, she says, listen, make no mistake about it. There is a generational player in the WNBA, and her name is Caitlyn Clark. We're going to get to that. But first, if you have not subscribed to the Adrienne Ross Show channel, what you waiting for? Make sure you hit the subscribe button. Also, make sure you check out the join options. There are 4 memberships to the channel. It doesn't take away from anything subscribers get. It's just extra. Okay. So go check out those membership options by clicking the join button. All right. Before I get into what we're getting into, also, if you missed the podcast episode last night that I did with Come On Now, the podcast, you know, Rudy from Rudy's Rant and Martin from Livewire Sports Media, the comments are all loving it. They're all arrayed with what that was. That was fire. So make sure you go. Don't be put off by the fact that it's a little bit over an hour. In fact, somebody made a comment. He said, I saw an hour. I wasn't quite so sure. He said, but man, that thing went like that. Because it was that good. These guys brought it. They kept it a buck. So check that out. Okay, now I'm going to show you this clip. Jensen talking about Caitlyn Clark. Here it is.
And then she did what only another person on the planet, and there's only 2 people that do what they do: Steph Curry and Caitlyn Clark. End of the conversation. Everybody, you know, to me, it started and ended there. There's been much to be made when she came into the WNBA as well. She got too much credit because a lot of people had been great before, and they had, but no one was shooting from that distance consistently. Right. No one had a fan base that just, it reminded me of the Beatles sometimes on the road. The old, yeah. I don't mean that, that's kind of a little hyperbole, but it was crazy on the road. So all of these things, okay, watching that grow, I got to be part of that. I mean, sure. Very few have gotten to coach, you know, a go, like a Michael Jordan or whatever. Then ground.
Yeah, I know Jensen did a thing right there, right? She said a thing, to be more specific. And she says it so graciously, so non-combatively. But she's saying something right here. In that little clip, she's saying Caitlyn Clark is the generational player. She just is. Okay? And you know what? She said she's doing what no other basketball player has been able to do, has ever done, except Steph Curry. So that means Caitlyn is doing what no other women's basketball player has ever done. And she came into the league with that accolade, with that truth. It just is. And what I love about what Jensen does is that she acknowledges that caused some problems in the WNBA, that Caitlyn was getting this kind of attention. And she said it so nicely. She didn't say they were catty, they were petty, they were jealous. They were missing the point that she was doing what no one else had ever done. She doesn't say that, but she says it anyway. She says it without saying it, and she points them to reality. And the reality is, only Caitlyn was doing it, shooting from that distance consistently. And she also does this, which I love and everyone should respect. And that is, she said, yes, there were great players. Yes, there are great players, but Caitlyn, generational. So while people did have a problem with, we're great too. We've been great. Jan Jensen says, absolutely you have, but ain't nobody did what Caitlyn's doing. It just is what it is. Nobody. And then she goes on to talk about the fandom. Okay. Nobody else had that kind of fan base that even on the road, she mentions the Beatles, and then she says, well, that's hyperbole, but you get the point. We've never seen anything like this. This was unseen, unheard of. This was generational from this basketball player shooting way out, shooting from the future, as I once heard somebody say who was calling the game. It has a fan base that is loyal, that is there, not just at home, but also on the road. And then she uses the term GOAT and says how fortunate she was, and of course, Lisa Bluter as the head coach at the time, to be able to be a part of this kind of, shall we say, movement. So again, the interview is filled with a whole lot. And again, I'll put the link in the description because I know some of you've told me that after putting the link and after recommending the video yesterday or last night, you did watch, and some of you had already watched. It's so good. So make sure you go watch it. But I am going to, at least I plan to put in some more tidbits of what she's saying, because there's so much there. But I love how she does it. She gives Caitlyn her props. She gives WNBA players their props, but she also says, let's keep this thing in perspective. Nobody was doing what Caitlyn Clark was doing. Nobody is doing what Caitlyn Clark is doing. She's GOAT. She said, end of story. It's just it. It just is. End of story. There's been a whole lot of conversation, we know, not just from WNBA players, but also from the internet world. But Jan Jensen, I think she paints the picture, and she does so nicely, not condescendingly at all. She just keeping it a buck, right? But what do you think? Put it in the comments. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share. And I'll catch you next time, God willing. God bless you abundantly.